Hello everybody, this is JW Nigerian with the Networking Fools, and today we have with us Julie Viskup. And Julie's a lawyer, and she specializes, I believe, in nonprofit entities, nonprofit grants, and nonprofit law. And we're here today to talk to her to share some information that she thinks is important and that might help you decide what kind of nonprofit you want to put together, maybe some of the things that you might want to do or look at. Anyway, welcome today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming.
Thanks. I really appreciate being here. I'm so excited to talk with you and with your viewers about nonprofits and how to decide what to do.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit about your background and where you're from and how you became a nonprofit attorney?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I've been practicing law since 1986. I started off in New Jersey. And then went to state of Washington, and I was basically in the arena of criminal law for those years. I realized I saw so many people, and I look at their lives, and so I knew that I wanted to do something other than working within the criminal system, because that doesn't really work. So my roots are... Yes, absolutely. My roots are really grounded in the social aspects of law, I guess, if you would put it that way,
right.
In terms of, as a world and as a planet, why do we have things like crimes going on? What draws people to that kind of lifestyle? And so ultimately, through a series of different things that I did, I began to work with nonprofits. So for about the last 10 years or so, I've worked with one in particular. I've worked with many, but one over the last 10 or so years. It's called Vermont High Tech. And it's...
and you're from Vermont. Right?
And I'm from Vermont, that's correct. Yeah, I've been practicing law in Vermont since 1989.
Right.
And so Vermont High Tech was formed for the purpose of creating jobs for unemployed and underemployed Vermont residents. My particular passion was around women and creating opportunities for women so that they could have more choices in life, so that they could choose to be with their partners or not, and it would empower the women, and therefore it would empower the children that the women were raising. And so I believe it's a generational thing. So Vermont High Tech was the first nonprofit that I was involved with forming. It was formed now 11 years ago, and it's created several thousand jobs for people in Vermont, which is quite a feat when you consider that the population of Vermont is 650,000. And so what that gave me was I worked with the Department of Labor. I attended Department of Labor conferences, and it gave me a full understanding of the federal grant process, how you go about getting the grants, what you need to do once you get them, and having access to some of the politicians. Vermont Senator Leahy is one of the big supporters of Vermont High Tech, and so being able to understand the political process and the grant process and was really invaluable for me. And so I know we'll be talking a little bit about the different forms of business, but it's all about a social mission and social responsibility. And it can be done in many, many ways, not just through the nonprofit, but that's traditionally where we've seen a lot of the work, like the Red Cross or the Salvation Army or some of the big organizations we're used to seeing. Those are all federally recognized nonprofit organizations, but there are other options as well.
Right, and I want to go over those. So, profit, nonprofit, what's the first thing you would advise people to look at?
The first thing that you need to look at is, what is it that you want to do?
Okay.
What's your social mission? So define your social mission. Do you like ice cream?
Absolutely.
Do you know Ben & Jerry's?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if we use Ben & Jerry's as an example?
Oh, I think that'd be a great example.
Okay. So if you look at Ben & Jerry's, here are these two guys who have social mission, not a lot of options for how to do this business at that time. More options today. So they chose to form a C corporation, and they ultimately went public. But what they did was they declared themselves to be a conscious business. And they said, to the shareholders, don't expect a dividend check every year, because the dividend is going out into the world. At the same time, they formed the Ben & Jerry's Foundation. So they had committed that 7.5% of their pre-tax profits would go into the foundation, which was a 501c3. So that's the traditional IRS-recognized foundation that you can gift money to and get a tax deduction. What happens is that particularly with a public corporation, the number one mission of a public corporation is supposed to be, or the number one fiduciary responsibility is to the shareholders. So you're supposed to make money for your shareholders because they're the owners of the business. So that eventually became a problem for Ben & Jerry, because even though they would say, we're a conscious business, they didn't label themselves conscious, but they said, we're here to do good things in the world. Right. Some people bought the stock and said, wait a minute, where's our money? Where's our dividends? And so there were some shareholder grumblings and things like that. Okay. So, but at the time, all you had was either the nonprofit, as in the 501c3, or the for-profit. And so today, we also have another form of business that's called an L3C. It's a low profit. So what you can do is it allows you to have a social mission first and foremost, and the profit motive second. So you don't have to cater to shareholders, or it's members in an L3C. So when you're looking at what am I going to do, is first, what's my social mission? Do I want to make a profit or not? Right. So if you're going to form a nonprofit, there's nothing distributed out to the people who form the nonprofit. Everything is either gifted into the nonprofit, as in a charitable deduction, or it's revenue that the nonprofit generates. Right. So no financial flow back to the organizers. That can cause issues. Yeah, absolutely. But if you really are focused on a social mission, and that's your primary, that's your alternative.
Well, let me ask you this, because as a board member on Hub, I learned about social business development, and that is where a business can do good and be in abundance and still help the community and the world and feed children and the whole bit. So having a purpose and it could be important. But there's all kinds of issues that come up, like you were talking about, and that is if you start a nonprofit and you're making too much profit, you have too many profit centers. It causes issues. I remember one of the associations I was putting together. We were looking at trade association or full nonprofit, all these kind of things, and we wanted to go nonprofit because that allowed government speakers to come. We were a commercial real estate asset association. So that would allow government speakers to come to our seminars and speak. But if we made then we found out, I think if we made over 5% from non-donations or from other entities or profit centers, now they couldn't come. And we did have so many profit centers built in from membership and all the different services for the members, it got really sticky. We were making too much money. And then the other things were membership is counted as one thing, but all the services, the tax thing got really crazy, because services are also counted as, if you donate or you give money and then you get services back, you can't necessarily count it as a donation if you're getting something back. All these little sticky areas we got stuck with. Anyway, I probably kind of went all over the place, but no, you went all over the place, but that is the issue. Right. That you go all over the place when you try to figure this out. How do I do business? How do I not? What can I do? What can I not do? Right. That was one of the reasons for forming, or for the state of Vermont was the first state to start the low profit, which totally abandons that issue. So you can make a profit, you can make a handsome profit. Are other states now doing that?
There are 6 states currently that are doing that. Wisconsin, Illinois, Utah, I believe it's Arizona, and Louisiana. So those are the 6 states that you can form an L3C.
Let's change a little bit here, because now that everybody has their cause and their purpose and they're figuring out what entity they want to do and all that kind of stuff, monies. We touched on this just a little bit. Are you going to get a loan, or is this going to be a full a deal where you're taking donations? You know, there's all kinds of other things to think of. Grants and loans, something else you specialize in. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to talk about that, because nothing happens without the financial energy, of course. So we've got to have money. That's right. That's the world that we live in. So so grants. There are many ways to get grants, and there are basically 3 types of grants. There are private grants, which would come out of foundations. Mm-hmm. There are state grants that come from the state government entities, and then there are federal grants. So a grant is basically a gift of money. You don't repay it, but a grant requires you to, first of all, you need to have your purpose, what are the grant monies for, mm-hmm. and then you apply for it, and you need to do what you have agreed to do in the grant. Right.
So then after that, then you got to figure out, like you've already figured out where the money's going to come from. So now you have to get yourself either good partners, good staff, good great professionals. So put yourself around people that know what's going on, the magicians, mm-hmm. as you call them, to make sure that you can get this stuff done. Otherwise, your cause and your labor of love just become an intensive exercise and futility sometimes. I know a lot of people, it rang so true with me when you said the love that you have for your cause mm-hmm. gets burned up in the doing. Mm-hmm. But luckily there's people like you that have the answers, and believe me, if I would have known you when I was asking all these questions, it would have been worth so much to me. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I think we dicked around with it for about 6 months. Yeah. Trying to figure out. And every day it was, okay, we're going to be a nonprofit. No, today we're going to be a for-profit. We decided to be a trade association. No, now we're going full this or full. It was. Yeah, I've seen that happen. It was mind-numbing and sucked the life right out of us mm-hmm. for a while. Mm-hmm. And we had so much other things to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It would have been great to have somebody who allowed us to just get done and move on. So we so appreciate you being here today and sharing your knowledge with us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, this is JW Nigerian with the Networking Fools, wishing that you all have a great day, a great week, a great year, and we'll see you later. Thank you.